This month is Black History Month, and I'm going to be covering important things in history regarding the genres I normally cover. Today, I'm going to talk about Disney's first Black princess, Brandy Norwood. Back in 1997, Whitney Houston produced a remake of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella with Whitney as the fairy godmother and Brandy as Cinderella. So today I want to talk about that production and that moment in time. But first, a message from me. So a few years ago, I did a thing. I wrote a novel titled The Fairy Princess Enter into Fin Time. You can see the fairy princess here on my t-shirt. The book is about a young girl from the south side of Chicago who discovers she's a fairy princess. Her godmother is kidnapped and she must learn how to use her powers while trying to save her. The book is available on Amazon and Rakuten Kobo. T-shirts and other merch are available on my website, thefairyprincess.net. Links are in the description. When they first started developing the movie in 1993, it was going to be on CBS and Whitney was going to be Cinderella. In 1994 or 95, Michael Eisner, president of Disney, called the producers and told them that he wanted to resurrect the wonderful world of Disney. It was basically Disney-produced movies and programs that would air every Sunday evening. He wanted to launch it with a big event. The producers told him about Cinderella with Whitney Houston, and he loved the idea. But they still needed a definite commitment from Whitney. After staging a live reading of the script for her, Whitney committed to doing the movie. But by this time, she felt she was too old to be Cinderella and decided to be the fairy godmother instead. Though she left casting decisions to the other producers and the director, Whitney decided that Cinderella had to be Brandy. At the time, Brandy was not only a recording artist, but star of her own TV show, Moesha. Though a Disney exec, not Michael Eisner, was nervous about having a Black Cinderella and suggested they go with Jewel instead. The producers stuck to their guns and were like, nah, not gonna happen. Whoopi Goldberg was asked to be the wicked stepmother at first, but she was busy. And no white woman wanted to be cast as the stepmother and to be seen as being evil to a Black Cinderella. But when they asked Bernadette Peters, she immediately said yes. They wanted Julie Andrews to be the queen, a nice callback to her role as Cinderella in 1957. But it was right around that time that she discovered that her vocal cords had been damaged. So they circled back to Whoopi. She agreed and suggested Victor Garber for the king. After casting was done, they had to focus on the music. They pulled songs from other Rodgers and Hammerstein's productions, and they changed lyrics to others to fit the cultural changes in the cast. The stepmother didn't originally have a song, but with the casting of Bernadette Peters, they had to pull one for her. They had to expand The Prince is Giving a Ball once Jason Alexander was cast. And of course, Whitney had to have a huge solo number. There were 6 to 8 weeks of rehearsals before filming began in July of 1997. They filmed on 2 stages, one of which was the same stage that The Wizard of Oz was filmed on. Although they made sure to have Black hairdressers for Whitney Houston and Brandy, they didn't really have any Black hairdressers for Natalie Desselle or any other Black person in the cast who may have needed one. But after Natalie cried because of this discrepancy, Deborah Martin Chase went out and got one. Because of her busy schedule, they only had 4 days to shoot Whitney Houston's role. And Whoopi didn't want to wear fake jewels for her role as the queen. She gave the production her contacts at Harry Winston and told them to pick whatever they wanted. Armed guards would put the jewels on her for every shot and take them off of her before she left set. Basically, real queen moves. The last day of shooting, they ran out of money for extras at Cinderella's wedding. The exec who suggested they cast Jewel as Cinderella wouldn't give them any more money. So Whoopi gave the production her per diem to pay for more extras. And 3 producers joined her by putting money out of their own pockets. This also meant they had to shoot Whitney's final scene against a green screen. It aired on The Wonderful World of Disney on November 2nd, 1997. And of course, there was a huge cultural impact. Many young women of color were moved to have a Black Disney princess. Like I said before, representation matters. I remember that back then, at first, I was a little disappointed that Brandy wore braids in her role. But years later, I realized how important it was to have a Disney princess with protective style. Plenty of young girls in braids got to see their princess with the same hairstyle. It was seen by 23 million households, around 60 million viewers. And it was the first Disney TV movie distributed for home release. Back then, it was on VHS. At first, the chain stores didn't want to promote it, but then Disney threatened them that they wouldn't get the animated movies if they didn't promote Cinderella. And then they sold 1 million units in the first week. Unprecedented for TV movies at that point. Unfortunately, an official soundtrack has never been released because Brandy's label, Atlantic, and Whitney's label, Arista, couldn't come to terms with releasing it. Atlantic didn't want to release it because they felt it clashed with the urban sound they were building for Brandy. The Rodgers and Hammerstein organization wants to release the soundtrack, but as far as I can tell, it still hasn't been released. It's really disappointing when egos get in the way of great art. In 2021, it was released on streaming on Disney Plus for the first time. And then in 2022, there was a 25th anniversary special. It was an important moment in time, not only because of the Black princess, but because of the colorblind casting. It was the first production to do this, and it led the way for others, like Hamilton. Brandy is still my favorite Cinderella, and she inspired a generation of little girls just for playing that role. So how do you feel about Brandy as Cinderella? Did she inspire you? Did she entertain you? Or did you miss out on the phenomenon altogether? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know the next time I upload or go live.